God's giving her a second chance, and that was a neat thing because she named the child Victoire after the one who passed. Our sense of spirituality incorporated the ability to rationalize in that manner, to reduce suffering and to reduce the loss. You know, it was the way that it was back then. So yeah, like these are little tidbits and stories. Yeah, the community was one where everybody was pretty much connected to one another in a very codependent way, in a sense, because everyone's skill sets were needed to survive. It wasn't as isolated as it was today. Everybody was basically in the same family tree. All the deported families that ended up in this place intermarried for generations and generations, and everyone knew one another. There was this cousin to aunt to uncle to family, all the family links. We were intermarrying all the time with the families of Pokmush because they were also our families. We had Mi'kmaq, we had the French Acadie. It doesn't matter. After a while, we're all just the same. You know, we were all family, and we didn't even know we were Mi'kmaq because those words weren't even taught to us. You know, like all we knew was. We were of Acadie, so we called ourselves Acadian, but after the deportation, what was Acadie, right? But we remain identifying of that era because that's what the culture we came from, and that's the culture we continued in spite of the deportation. So yeah, life was about the people, life was about the rituals of the fish and the fishing. My grandfather had calloused hands from many years of weaving his own net out of hemp. Hemp was used as the netting material because it was mold resistant. It was the one that everybody used. And he used to spread the net out. It covered the entire yard of his backyard, and everybody repairing the net, fixing it up for the next use of the fish. He was a fisherman for 42 years, and for 42 years he got sick on the boat. He used to get seasick, but he loved it so much he just kept going. And the fishing was our life, the blessing of the boats, the making of the boats. My grandfather would walk the woods to look for just the right tree to cut. And it was a prayer every time when God delivered the tree at just the right angle, like those moments, right? And yeah, it's a fantastic life. You had to be in sync with nature. If you weren't, you'd die. You had to know how to read the water, how to respect the weather, how to respect the environment, how to respect the animals, know what to take and know when not to take it in order to keep the balance of nature and the balance of the community healthy. We had clam digging, we had crab, we had lobster, all the beautiful treasures of the sea, the cod, the sole fish, the mackerel, the hack, and the other one, the capelin, ice fishing in the winter where you cut through the ice like this and you dunk the net in and you pull the whole thing out and get your fish. Or you sit patiently by the water with that little bit of string hoping you get something good. Yeah, they didn't swim. None of the fishermen knew how to swim, so when a tragedy happened with the boat sinking, they figured, well, it's a mercy to die than it is to suffer. And we had no mechanism to rescue the guys back in the day. It was there were a lot of people widowed by the weather or by the sinking of the boats. But yeah, our life revolved around the boats, repairing them, taking care of them, the nets, the preparing of the fish, the cleaning of the fish. All the women in the village worked at the factory at one point or another cleaning the fish. You go to Caracat, the first whiff you get is the fish. And then after a while, your nose goes numb. You can't smell it no more. But the shrimp, I love the shrimp. Like we used to get the shrimp, every time we go home, we'd get the shrimp by a garbage bag from one of my relatives and feast on it with the whole family, and we made all of our foods that way. It was a beautiful time, So I just want to relay, what I know of the lifestyle. There was music, a lot of dance, Our dances were anytime the family got together, there was music and dance. Anytime. And storytellers would go from house to house telling stories about, challenges of the trickster, devil, and characters, and how someone clever would figure it out. And the stories were a fundamental part of our way. The stories of clever animals, the stories of Glooskap, the stories of the little people, everything like that. We grew up with these tales, and they were tales of morality and tales of wonder, and tales that, you're encountering the devil one-on-one and you have to outthink him. And they shape your character. They shape your perception of the world. They entrench you in this wonder, and they delight. And it was all person to person. There was no TV. There was no external factor. It was just in the moment, engaged. And what an experience. I loved it. I loved it. I loved being around my relatives. And to this day, I still do. When I go down there, I feel absorbed by a culture of people who create, and people who are intelligent and resourceful, and just have these skill sets still to this day. And that's because we did without, and we made our own. So it's like there was a quote by Mother Teresa, kind of on the lines of, we know how to do a lot with nothing because we never had anything. So because we don't have anything, we can do anything with nothing, kind of thing, So I wish I remembered the quote directly, but that's the basic idea. And I have faith that if we go back and we recapture the history of what happened with the Acadian and the Mi'kmaq, and what happened with the First Nations people, bring their history to light, we will find treasures of how to rebuild a healthier society. Because they survived this land for 12,000 to 20,000 years. The evidence shows the indigenous knowledge and wisdom that's in our lands today. The people have resourcefulness and skill sets that this world desperately needs in order to adapt and evolve in harmony with the environment, and with a value system that puts people first rather than profits, rather than diversions of electronic experts. There is a treasure that we have to tap into. And it's a reconciliation of the history, and it's a re-dignification of the humans that were here before anyone else. And I pray that we will all work towards restoring that culture and the stories and the knowledge and the wisdom, and how we build the community for the future. Because I really think that technology is taking us away from our humanity, and we have to start valuing it again much more so. And maybe technology is part of the key of connecting that humanity. If we share the stories at least this way, then hey, all the better. So yeah, that's what I want to share with you today, and I hope you enjoy what I've said. Oh, that's about it. Have a good one.